Yeah. Yeah, I know about the sterilization of the yuan in China and the interest rates throughout the world. But when states start requiring for you to have to do work to receive food, yeah, that's conscription, yes. And then when nations start supporting the military more than they support the population, that's exploitation. Now, you're going to have to put it back that each one of us is liable for any contractual obligations. Yes. And it might have been the largest pay increase in 10 years. Yeah. But there won't be another one. Hmm. Now, all of those Americans that do know about this, yes, I'm going to sue the unions of the federal government, ooch, the state governments, and the employees of law enforcement that think that it's okay to exploit the laws, yes, to falsely accuse and imprison American citizens. So why don't you just give me my sons today? Yes. Remove the fraud of the dissolution of marriage. Yes. And the protection order where there's the forgery of the ex officio Superior Court clerk. There was no due process to myself or my sons. Yes. And the petitioner didn't sign it. Now, since you've arrested me so many different times, you've been exploiting domestic violence and child abuse laws with the intention of kidnapping my sons. Yes, because you wanted to exploit your authority as law enforcement. Now, this is very Nazi. Punch! I've seen quite a few of those Nazi exploitation movies. Yeah. Olga. The SS. Oh. Now, it could be that the Democrats in their want to be selfish, unethical. Could have put a little sex puppet training in there where you would. Isn't that right, Olga? Now, on January 20th of 1934, there was a decree regulating national labor. Introduced the Führer principle into industrial relations. It provided that the owners of enterprises should be the Führers. Yeah. And the workers should be the followers. Now, the enterpriser Führers should make decisions for employees and laborers in all matters concerning the enterprise. Yeah. It was by such bait that the great German industrialists were induced to support the Nazi cause to their own ultimate ruin. Look at there's some ducks right there. Oh my gosh, duck. you know, um, in the United States, yes. When you can exploit the idea of owning a business, yes, negating the power of collective bargaining too. A lot of individuals will do that. See, I'm the Führer and you're the laborer, and I'm going to exploit my authority. Yes. And if you don't want to do what I say, you can go find a job someplace else. Now, this is a serious concern for a lot of those that are on welfare. Yes. If I don't do what the state says, I can't eat. Yes. And if I don't like it, I can go to a food bank. Pooh. And if you don't want to do what we say, you can live in a homeless shelter for the rest of your life. Now, the Führer principle of industrial relations. A lot of us that have to submit to the authority of the United States federal government, even though we can see the exploitation of manipulating the military into wanting what they should not receive, why the rest of us have to sit here knowing, yes, that we're going to have to work if we want to eat. See, it used to be that you had to volunteer 38 hours a month to receive the cash benefit of the TAMP. Yes, but some states changed it to receive food. You have to volunteer to work for the state. Now, when you add up the amount of actual food stamps you receive or cash benefit or the both of them, and then you add up what the actual laws of each individual state say, yes, I don't think you make more than $5 an hour being able to feed your family. Now, for all of those in uniform that thought it was your job, right, to defend the United States of America, did you find out about that sixth branch of the United States military? Yeah. Mhm. See, it's either government, it's law enforcement, yes, or it's the military. And for the rest of us, it's just a matter of time before nobody wants to buy the treasuries because we keep overspending. Now, let's say China stops sterilizing their own currency. Oh my gosh. The inflation concerns of those that manufacture goods that they export to other nations. But what would happen if their selling of the dollar became a weak dollar policy in other nations? Causing interest rates to rise on the actual treasuries that are being issued. Ouch. Because the weaker the dollar, the less value it is for a treasury in another currency. Now, I know as a nation that we're not dependent upon other nations to have to buy our debt. I mean, we can issue 10 to 20 trillion dollars of additional treasuries, and the fiscal agent of the United States continues to issue currency. But if any nation of the world decide to sell the dollar and buy the other currencies, that would cause a supply demand problem, which would cause the dollar to weaken. Yes. And that would cause a lessening of the value of the treasuries, ultimately affecting the interest rates of the United States of America.